Hello, in this web development basics, we're going to look at two CSS selectors. That is the Descendent and the Child Selector. So to illustrate the subtle difference between these two, we first just have to understand this simple page that I've written. I have a div here which I've set with a light background of light gray, and inside that div is a table as well as a p tag right here. And then I have outside the division is another p tag. So if I go into and look at the code here, I have a little CSS to help define this and a little CSS for the table. And this P is what we say is a descendant of the div because it is inside the div. And in fact, it's a descendant and a child of the div because it's directly inside the div. So it's a descendant because it's inside, full stop. It's a child because it is one level inside. And so to help illustrate this a bit more, I'm going to put a p tag around each of the elements, well, the text inside the table. Now, we'll forego the conversation if this is a good idea or not, but it really kind of helps illustrate. It will help illustrate the point here. So by putting each of these inside a p tag, which I'm just taking a second and doing here. Ooh. So let's talk about them. These p tags are descendants of everything above it, but these p tags are children of the th tag. So you're a child of your most immediate element above you. And that's really going to help us see the difference between these two selectors. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of CSS. So the first piece of CSS I'm going to write is I'm going to use this one, div space p. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say color is red. And this is nice because it's kind of easy to see. So if I save this, let's take a look. Notice it's changed all of the p tags to red that are inside the div. So the space is what's called the Descendent Selector. So what this says is basically look for any div, and then look for any descendant inside the div that is a p tag and set that color to red. And that's why all of this turns red, but this does not turn red because it is not a descendant of the div. So now, let's change this just a little bit, and we're going to put that symbol there. So this selector is called the Child Selector. What this does is it looks at only the immediate descendant, that is the child of the element. So if I save this now, and then reload this, notice that this p tag stays red, but all of the p tags inside the table are no longer red. And that's because this p tag is, yes, a descendant of the div, but it is also a child of the div. This p tag is a descendant of the div, yes, but it is not a child of that div tag. It is a child of the th tag. And that's the difference between these two selectors. So we have the Descendent Selector, and this means anyone that is a descendant of div will get that color red, or any p that is a descendant of div will get that red, versus the Child Selector. And the Child Selector, another way to say that, is it just looks one step in. Once you figure out these two selectors, you can start doing a little bit of kind of more interesting manipulation with your HTML. I hope this video helped, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.